The tension in the studio was electric even before the cameras began rolling. Stephen Colbert, always poised with his razor-sharp wit and mischievous charm, sat across from Jennifer Aniston, a Hollywood icon who'd mastered the art of balancing grace and humor throughout her decades-long career. The crowd buzzed with anticipation. This was supposed to be one of those easy, feel-good interviews. Jennifer was there to promote her new film, a romantic drama about rediscovery and resilience. But as the lights dimmed and the opening applause faded, something in the air shifted, a subtle charge that hinted this night wouldn't go as planned. From the first few minutes, Jennifer appeared polite but unusually guarded. Her trademark smile, that warm, familiar grin adored by millions, seemed more like a practiced shield tonight. Colbert started off playfully, teasing her about her eternal youth, and joking that she must have a secret time machine hidden somewhere in Malibu. The audience laughed, and Jennifer chuckled along, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. "Just good lighting, Stephen," she quipped lightly. But when the conversation turned toward her career longevity, the mood changed. "You've been in this business for, what, 3 decades now?" Colbert began. "You've done everything, sitcoms, big-budget films, indie dramas. I guess the real question is, how do you stay relevant?" The audience gave a soft, nervous laugh, uncertain whether it was a compliment or a jab. Jennifer's smile stiffened. She tilted her head slightly, eyes narrowing just enough to betray her irritation. "Staying relevant," she repeated, her tone calm but edged with steel. "I didn't realize I was supposed to be chasing relevance." Colbert, sensing the moment but unable to resist pushing boundaries, leaned forward. "Well, you know what I mean, Hollywood's always changing. Audiences are changing. Do you ever feel pressure to reinvent yourself? I mean, you've had an incredible career, but, Jennifer cut in gently, her voice low yet commanding. "I don't think of my work in terms of reinvention, Stephen. I think of it as evolution. I don't wake up wondering if I'm still relevant. I wake up wondering if I'm still doing something meaningful." The audience broke into applause, a clear sign that they were siding with her. Colbert smiled, but there was a flicker of discomfort behind his eyes. Still, he pressed on. "Meaningful, sure, but some critics say your recent roles have been, well, safe. Comfortable, even. Would you agree with that?" That question landed like a spark in dry grass. Jennifer's eyes hardened. She took a deep breath before replying. "Safe," she said slowly. "I find it interesting that when men choose grounded, emotional roles, they're called mature or refined. When women do the same, we're playing it safe. Maybe that says more about the critics than the work." The crowd erupted in cheers, clapping louder this time. Colbert's grin faltered slightly, but he tried to recover with a laugh. "Fair enough. I guess you've had to deal with that kind of double standard your whole career." Jennifer nodded, her tone steady but unflinching. "I have, and it gets old. I've been lucky enough to tell stories that matter to me, not because they're shocking, but because they're honest. Maybe honesty is the most rebellious thing you can do in Hollywood." The applause swelled again, yet rather than easing the tension, it seemed to deepen it. Colbert, ever the showman, wasn't ready to let go of the moment. "You've mentioned honesty, and I think that's great," he said, his tone almost too smooth. "But do you ever worry that audiences still see you as, well, Rachel from Friends? That it overshadows your newer work?" Jennifer's expression changed. Her lips pressed into a thin line, and she exhaled quietly before responding. "Rachel was one chapter," she said, her voice now edged with finality. "A beautiful one, but a chapter nonetheless. People grow. The problem is, sometimes the world doesn't let women do that without reminding them where they started." There was a hush, that kind of silence that fills every corner of a room. Even Colbert seemed unsure what to say next. But before he could, Jennifer added, "And honestly, Stephen, I'm tired of being asked the same question in different words. It's like people want to trap me in the past instead of seeing where I am now." Her words hung in the air like thunder before a storm. Then, as if realizing there was nothing left to add, Jennifer smiled faintly. "You know what," she said softly, "I think we're done here." She stood up gracefully, unclipped her microphone, and handed it to a startled stagehand. The audience gasped, a collective breath of disbelief. Colbert leaned forward, half laughing, half shocked. "Jennifer, wait, we're just talking." But Jennifer was already walking off stage, calm and composed, her heels clicking against the studio floor. She didn't look back. The audience watched in stunned silence as she disappeared behind the curtain, leaving Colbert speechless and the cameras rolling on an empty chair. For a few seconds, no one moved. Then, realizing the gravity of what just happened, Colbert turned back to the audience with a forced smile. "Well," he said awkwardly, "I guess that's one way to end an interview." The crowd laughed uncertainly, but the energy in the room had shifted entirely. What was meant to be a lighthearted conversation had become a defining television moment. The night Jennifer Aniston decided she'd had enough, the fallout from Jennifer Aniston's sudden walk-off was immediate and explosive. By the next morning, every entertainment outlet, talk show, and social media platform was ablaze with headlines screaming variations of the same story: Jennifer Aniston walks off Stephen Colbert's show after heated clash. The clip of her calmly removing her microphone and leaving the stage went viral overnight. On TikTok, millions of users looped it with dramatic music and slow-motion edits, analyzing her every glance and word. Twitter, or what people now called X, was divided between those calling her a Hollywood diva, and others praising her for standing her ground against yet another patronizing interview. Fans who had followed her career for decades saw the moment differently. To them, it wasn't an overreaction, it was long overdue. "Jennifer Aniston doesn't owe anyone a justification for her career," one fan wrote. "She's been entertaining us for 30 years, she can walk out of whatever interview she wants." Another tweet with over 500,000 likes read, "She didn't storm off. She walked off with class." There's a difference. Behind the scenes, the Late Show producers were in crisis mode. Phone calls buzzed through CBS headquarters. Colbert himself, reportedly embarrassed by the backlash, reached out privately to Jennifer the next morning. According to insiders, his message was short but sincere: "I never meant to disrespect you. I hope we can talk." Jennifer, however, remained silent. She didn't tweet, didn't post on Instagram, and didn't issue a statement through her team. For someone as seasoned as she was, silence spoke louder than any press release. Instead, she went back to work. Her Apple TV Plus drama, The Morning Light, was in the middle of filming its final scenes, and she threw herself into the project with renewed focus. Cast and crew described her as professional as ever, though more introspective than usual. She wasn't angry, one crew member later told Variety. She was reflective. Like the incident made her realize how little patience she had left for the nonsense women still face in Hollywood. Meanwhile, the internet dissected every frame of the exchange. Commentators uploaded side-by-side analyses of Colbert's tone, the framing of the camera shots, even Jennifer's micro-expressions. Others debated whether it was fair to criticize a comedian for asking hard questions. But amid the noise, a pattern emerged, one that resonated especially with women in entertainment. The questions Jennifer had pushed back against weren't new. They were the same ones that had followed her for years, about aging, relevance, relationships, and comparisons to a role she'd played decades ago. "It's exhausting," wrote one female journalist in The Guardian. "We celebrate women for being icons, then try to remind them they're past their prime." Jennifer Aniston didn't lose her temper, she reclaimed her dignity. By midweek, even Colbert knew he couldn't ignore the elephant in the room. On Wednesday night's episode of The Late Show, he addressed it directly. "Sometimes," he said, looking straight into the camera, "in trying to have a fun conversation, you can touch a nerve without realizing it. Jennifer Aniston is one of the most talented, gracious people in Hollywood. I respect her deeply, and I wish her nothing but the best." The audience applauded, but there was a quiet, uncomfortable undertone, an acknowledgement that something about the moment had exposed more than just a misunderstanding. Later that week, Jennifer broke her silence, not with a press conference, but during a live virtual Q&A promoting her new show. Someone asked her about the incident, and she smiled softly before responding. "You know," she began, "I've been in this business long enough to know that sometimes walking away is the healthiest thing you can do. It's not about being angry. It's about choosing peace. When people ask the same questions over and over, about your past, your age, your relevance, it stops being a conversation and starts feeling like a judgment." Her tone wasn't defensive or bitter, it was measured, grounded. "I love what I do," she continued, "and I'm proud of my career. But women don't owe the world explanations for how they change, grow, or evolve. We don't have to keep proving ourselves to deserve respect." Those words spread just as fast as the clip of her walk-off. Major outlets quoted her, influencers reposted her speech, and suddenly, the narrative shifted. What had started as, "Jennifer Aniston loses it on Colbert," became, Jennifer Aniston's graceful stand against sexist questioning. Even critics who initially accused her of overreacting began to reconsider. In the weeks that followed, Colbert extended another olive branch. He sent a handwritten note, thanking her for handling the situation with more grace than he deserved. Then, in a gesture that surprised everyone, he showed up at a charity gala Jennifer attended in Los Angeles. When photographers spotted the two greeting each other with a warm hug, the internet exploded again, but this time, with joy. "Forgiveness looks good on both of them," one headline read. That image, Jennifer in her gold gown, radiant under the flash of cameras, sharing a genuine smile with Colbert, became symbolic. Not of scandal, but of resolution. Two professionals, two human beings, learning something about themselves and each other. For Jennifer, it marked a quiet victory. She didn't need to argue or explain. She didn't need to shout to be heard. All she had to do was walk away, and in doing so, she reminded the world that walking away isn't weakness. It's strength, maturity, and the ultimate form of self-respect. In the end, her exit from The Late Show became more than a viral moment, it became a cultural statement. A reminder that sometimes, the most powerful thing a woman can do is simply decide when enough is enough, and walk toward her peace, even if the whole world is watching.